Hey everyone, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of accessories from Landsurf. So Landsurf, if you haven't heard of them yet, they make a bunch of really cool, well-made accessories for the Onewheel. And checking on their website, it looks like a few other parts for electric skateboards as well. And today's item we're going to look at are the Fangs. These are the mini Fangs. Version 2, you can see there on the label. And then I've ordered a couple of XLR plugs, which basically plug over the charge port on the Onewheel. So let's go ahead and get started with the plugs first. Okay, so these plugs, the title on the Landsurf website are called Urethane XLR plugs. This one says for the Onewheel. And I have confirmed with Landsurf that you can use these on both the XR model and then the Plus like I have here. And they're just made of a, let's see here. Oh yeah, right in the description, it's made out of a urethane material. Okay, comes in a few different colors. And the one I ordered from Landsurf was in yellow, but this is pretty cool. They actually sent me a bonus one in orange. So the plug itself is pretty firm. There are plugs you can get, I think, from Onewheel's website. They're also really nice. They're a little bit softer than this, so this is pretty hard. So like if I'm squeezing on this, it's not collapsing anything, all right? So it's a pretty solid structure. Has a little bit of a finger indent here, so that way when you install it into your plug port, you have something to kind of grab on into. So you're gonna go to the front of your board where the sensors are located. Okay, and pretty self-explanatory. You'll find that port right there. And the orientation of this is the finger indentation should be pointing towards the back of the board because that's what allows these three holes to line up with those three prongs for the socket. So you just put it in like that. So pretty easy installation. Looks really good. I have not taken this out yet off-road or on the road to see if it stays in place. It does pull out pretty easily, but it's also a pretty snug fit inside. So I think this should be nice and secure and covers the port up pretty well. Okay, let's go ahead and move on now to the Fangs next. So the Fangs, there are two versions currently available from Landsurf. So you have these ones, the minis, that, as the name suggests, are a little bit smaller than the standard ones, which are called the Fang 2.1s. The differences between the two are going to be the housing that holds the wheel, and then also the contact patch of the wheel. So according to Landsurf, the actual diameter of the wheel between their two versions of Fangs are exactly the same, but the contact patch on the version 2.1 is just a little bit thinner than the contact patch on the version 2.0 minis. Okay, and when you go to Landsurf's website, this is what it looks like. Okay, so pretty cool design. Okay, the housing itself can come in a number of finishes. So if you order it in basic black, like I ordered mine, you're going to be getting a glass-filled nylon material for the housing. Okay. And then if you decide to order like one of the colors that they offer, like these housings, meaning the part that's holding the wheel in place, is made out of a CNC 7075. Let me see if I can get that in shot for you guys. Yeah, CNC 7075 aluminum. But regardless of the finish that you choose for the wheels, colored or not, the wheel itself is going to be made out of the same material, which is a precision cast urethane wheel. And it looks like the wheel is replaceable, so that way, if for some reason it gets damaged, like you ride over something pretty hard or just through normal use, it looks like you can just order the wheels separately without having to pay for the whole housing and the ball bearings again. Okay, the packaging looks really nice. Okay, and this is an all-inclusive kit. So you will get the wheels here and you'll get the housings. So let's take those apart. Inside you get the hardware that you will need for the installation, which includes 2 pairs of ball bearings, 2 pairs of washers, and 2 pairs of fasteners, and then 2 size Allen wrenches that you will need to install the different fasteners onto the board. Get some pretty cool Fang logo stickers and a Land Surf logo sticker as well. Okay, and some instructions here, which are pretty self-explanatory. So you have that wheel here in the center, and then adjacent to the wheel you have the 2 ball bearings, and then adjacent to those 2 ball bearings you have the washer. And then you have these 2 fasteners. You have this fastener which has like a beveled head, and then you have a different fastener here which is not beveled. The beveled part is actually going to act like the axle for the wheel. It's going to go right through the housing and right through the wheel and those washers. And then the other fastener is actually going to replace your 2 fasteners at the nose of your board, and they're a little bit longer to accommodate the extra thickness of the housing, so that way your wheel will stay firmly attached to the nose of the board. Also note that this design does not allow for swiveling, so meaning the wheel stays in one orientation, parallel with the board. It's not like having one of those grocery cart casters where the wheel rotates. So that's a nice feature to have. Another thing that is optional, it was not mentioned in the instructions, is I'm going to be using Loctite. This is Loctite Red. Now Loctite Red, I read the instructions on the back, is meant for metal to metal fasteners. So I'm not going to use the Loctite Red to secure this housing to the board because the board is plastic and the Loctite Red won't actually do anything. I think people have used super glue if you really want to secure it well. For me, I'm just going to screw it in normally. I will be using, however, the Loctite Red to secure the fastener that goes through the wheel and through the housing, the part that's basically the axle. And the reason I'm doing that is because you also get these nuts that go to that axle fastener right where my thumb is, and that part is metal. So it's a metal to metal contact, which I'll be using the Loctite Red for. Okay. And Loctite, if you don't know, is like the name says, it just kind of keeps those screws in place so that if you have any normal vibrations, which you're bound to have with the Onewheel, you don't risk the wheel coming off during your riding. Okay, so to get started, we're going to remove these 2 fasteners first from the front. Okay, now these will require the smaller of the 2 Allen screws here. And these fasteners will not be used again, so you can just put them in your Onewheel box in case you decide to return your board to stock. And again, we're working on the nose side or the sensor side of the board right now. Okay, so we've got these 2 fasteners removed. Set those aside. Okay, next thing I like to do is put together the ball bearings and the housings themselves. Okay, so let's organize our parts here. 2 pairs of ball bearings, 2 pairs of fasteners. Okay, and 1 more washer. There we go. Okay. So that is the entire tool set you will be getting from Land Surf. Okay, so let's assemble this. So the way this wheel housing is going to work is you have this ledge here on the backside, and that backside ledge is going to meet the backside of this bumper here. Okay, so kind of like that. Okay, but before we install this in, let's assemble the housing. So what I'll do is take the wheel first. I'm going to put a ball bearing on one side, and you can just press fit that in with your fingers. It goes in pretty easy. And press fit it like that. The wheel itself feels like soft, but it doesn't feel malleable, if that makes sense. Okay. Great, and then what we're going to do is put this inside the housing. The orientation does not matter. Okay, you're going to be using, again, this beveled fastener to act as an axle. And then 1 washer to go on each side of the wheel. So I'm going to put 1 washer first here at the very top. Just kind of push it in gently, okay? And then I'm going to take the fastener here, the beveled one, and kind of position that washer so that way it fits through the center of that fastener. Okay, so we push it through, and then I'm going to rotate over. Okay, now at this point the fastener is not, it's through the first washer and the wheel, but it has not gone through the other exit hole on the wheel. So I'm going to take my next washer here, slide that on the top gently, kind of give it a tap or two to get it in place, and then now we'll push the rest of that fastener through and hopefully impale through that washer, just like so. Okay, then we'll grab our nut here, which I probably should have put in beforehand. We'll push that down, and then that nut is kind of flush with the housing here. Okay, and that's a great design, so that way the nut doesn't spin freely. It makes it easier to install and also keeps it more secure. Okay, now before we put that in, let's put some Loctite. So we'll set that down. Okay, so let's go ahead and put just a dab of Loctite. You don't have to put too much. So just a small smidge. We'll put in that nut top, hold that nut down, and then kind of turn this by hand with the head of the fastener. And then once you feel like you've got some good bite into that nut, we can take our Allen wrench here, which will be the smaller Allen wrench, and just tighten that the rest of the way. Okay. Now there's the free spinning of the wheel will depend on how tight you make this. Now, obviously, I don't want to make this too tight where it's not going to spin, but I don't want to make it too loose. So I'm just doing this enough where it's getting just a bit tough to turn, and then after that point I do a quarter turn again. And then I'm checking the wheel to make sure that it's spinning freely. So that looks about maximum for me. Okay, maybe back it out just a bit. The wheel got a little stiff. That looks great. Okay, so we'll set that guy aside, and let's repeat again on this side. So again, press fit our ball bearings inside. Okay, take our housing, put the wheel inside, take our beveled fastener again. Okay, slide, oops, take the washer, sorry. Okay. Great. Second washer. Great. Just a dab of thread locker here. Okay, push that down, screw in by hand. Okay, small Allen wrench. Oops. Don't have fidgety hands. There. A little bit too tight, so we'll back out just a bit. That looks great. Okay, so now we have these two holes here that we took out before, and these are the fasteners that are going to go into there. Now remember, you are putting metal into plastic, so we're not going to be using thread locker in this case. Okay, and you want to be careful how much you're going to torque these bolts or these nuts down. I'm actually looking here inside, and actually I could be wrong. This looks like metal on the inside. So I'm just Yeah, I think it's metal. So actually, what it is you have this plastic sheath for the first part, which is unthreaded, and then the part that goes into the board where the bolts will go is actually threaded, but it has a metal casing that you can thread into. So that's good. That's, you know, less likely of cracking the plastic while torquing these down, and then that means we can also add a little bit of thread locker as well. So again, just a dab. You don't need to add a whole lot. And let's do the other one too. Okay. Now we're going to take our housing. Again, that little ledge right there is going to be facing the back part of the board. So we're going to line it like that. Put our bolt down like so. Okay, and then we'll grab our Allen key. Okay, and then we'll just start using the larger Allen key at this point and just put this into the housing. Again, some people like to use power tools. I think this is a pretty small job. You don't need to do that. But just be careful. You want to make sure you're not cross threading. Okay, so it should turn nice and easy. Okay, that looks good. Let's do the second one. Oh, and that's a nice touch too. So one thing I just noticed here, the bottom of the housing for the wheel is a little bit beveled up, and that matches the beveled down of that bumper right there. Now, as I'm screwing this in, I probably should have put the housing in first and then the wheel, because I'm noticing that there's just a tad of resistance from the wheel contacting the fastener as I'm screwing this in. It's not enough that I'm cross-threading. It's just going in very easy. And it's not a very big resistance, but it would just be a little bit easier, I think, if you put the housing first and then you put the wheel second. Okay, but as you can see here, I'm not having to use a lot of force, and this is still going in pretty well. Okay. Okay, and then we just screw in these till they're nice and tight. Okay, and actually looking at the instructions now, I think I did do it right. It said to assemble the housing before putting them on the board. So I guess either way, you can do it. Okay, so that looks great. So now we've got our fangs here. Again, these will help with if you have the nose drop in the board, whether or not you ride through pushback, there's a malfunction, or the battery low indicator kind of goes past its point where it nose dives the tip. These will kind of allow you to do a couple things to either ride out that nose dive, giving you enough time to hop off and recover safely rather than crash. Or if you're, talented enough to ride off the nosedive, you can kind of ride it out, so to speak, like do a little bit of a fang drag, and then regain your balance on the board without having to dismount. The other benefit of these two is people use these a little bit for stunts to kind of push the max speed, push through pushback, and they'll kind of use it almost like a tricycle with two wheels here and one here, where you're kind of planting the nose using like an Elvis hip gyration motion, putting all of that weight towards the front, diving the nose down and really accelerating forward. So again, these are the Fang Minis version 2. Get them from Landsurf. Really good, high quality product, simple to install, and beyond anything else, just a little bit more fun and safety on your rides. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's video. Thanks so much. If you have any questions on this product, shoot me down a question below, and I'll catch you on the next one.